Hello again. So very, very good to be with you. Always good news here at Mary's Field. We hope again that we're touching both your head and your heart. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the word drifting as it applies to our lives, our Christian lives. There's a really nice story that I heard first from the principal of the school where I was teaching, and it goes like this. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment of inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, ego, and so on. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one that you feed." If you feed, the story today is, if you feed and nourish your faith, it grows and it flourishes. If you don't nourish your faith, it slowly, very slowly drifts away, and you don't even notice it happening in many, many cases. I was reading today in the Decision magazine from Billy Graham organization, and even the evangelicals in the United States are having difficulty with people just slowly being affected by this false neo-pagan culture in which we live, and they're slowly drifting away. It seems to happen almost in the middle of the night when no one is looking. Do you know many people who have intentionally turned their backs on God and stomped away in anger? Neither do I. Do you know many people who have gradually lost their faith over an extended period of time? Yeah, I know more than a few, so do I. Few abandon their faith or out of anger at God or disbelief in the scripture or the sacraments. If you leave your church or your religion, you probably won't do it overnight. It will be subtle, slow, gradual, a casual abandonment. These words that Paul used in Hebrews kind of describes it. He said, "We must pay more careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, to the words we have heard, the things that you can depend on, that you can go to the bank with, We must pay more careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away." He knew what it was like. He was talking to people who were easily able to drift away from the message he was taking. It takes serious work to stay spiritually sharp. And almost no serious work at all to drift away. The spiritual life, if you want to develop it, takes work. All great things in life take serious work. When you drift completely away from your Christian life, your faith, and reject it, it's called a fancy word, apostasy. And it's happening everywhere. Do you know any apostates? Are your children apostates? Have they rejected the Christianity in which they have grown up? How do you get to be an apostate? Are you an apostate? Are we living in an age of apostasy? That's the real question that churches are finding. The problem is not outside, but actually inside the church. It's with the belief of the people who say they believe and actually, in fact, aren't believing. So what is the danger that faces any person attempting to stay spiritually afloat? It's drifting. Getting off course, aimlessly floating. If you lose your faith, you will probably do so gradually. In tiny increments, you will be distracted by work, family, entertainment, busyness, become sloppy, spiritually sloppy. You will allow a few days slip by without consulting your spiritual compass. Your sail will go untrimmed, your rigging will go unprepared, and worst of all, you forget to anchor your boat. And before you know it, you'll be bouncing from wave to wave in stormy seas, asking yourself the question, why am I so happy? What is it that's happened in my life? My heart isn't where it used to be. Where did I go wrong? Why do my kids not believe? We've raised a couple of 3 or 4 generations now in a way of religious illiterates, haven't we? Unless you anchor deep, you too could go down. So how do you anchor deep? You pay more attention to the things that you have heard that you believe. Stability in the storm comes from not from seeking a new message, but from understanding and allowing time-tested truths to sink down and root deeply in your mind and heart. Truths like, God made me, and God doesn't make junk. God is love. Mercy is His. He forgives. He forgets. He loves you now, the way you are. God lives in you and in the person next to you. The famous historian Arnold Toynbee wrote an especially fine chapter in one of his books entitled The Sense of Drift. He defines drift as a carelessness about the loss of spiritual and moral growth. It's happening everywhere in our culture. Billy Graham organization, they see it everywhere, even among evangelicals that you thought believed in a rock bottom kind of way. So it's a loss of spiritual and moral growth, an indifference towards things spiritual. Drifting is, to Toynbee's mind, one of the most painful of tribulations that affects the souls of people in an age of social decay. Whew. Does he ever hit the nail on the head? That's exactly where we're at, in a period of social decay. In our lives and in the life of society, drifting is the failure to offer any kind of resistance to the false currents in life. Icebergs drift. That is why they are destroyed. Little by little, they disappear. As long as they remain attached to the main body of ice, which is unthinkable today, everybody wants to do their own thing and not be attached to anything that really matters of substance. I got my own head, I think my way, and whatever. As long as they stay attached to the main body of ice, they're safe. But once they break off and drift from the truth of the cold water to the compromise of the warm water, they slowly, very slowly, in the middle of the night, melt, and they end up being that classy theological term, an apostate. They have rejected the faith in which they have grown. If you want to have the truth in your life tomorrow, you have to do the right things today. That's just the way it is. Happiness tomorrow really does completely depend on doing the objective truth, not what subjectively makes you feel good. Good to be with you. God bless. Looking forward to being with you again.